Hi, my rays of light, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be doing a psychic reading on David and Victoria Beckham. But before I do that, I want to talk about my Starseed Footstep Oracle cards. That's right, they are available today for pre-order, and the first 20 orders will have their decks autographed. You can pick up a copy by going to my website at www.raymondguzman.net/shop. They are retailing for $29 as of right now. That's the retail price. And then eventually they will be about $35 on my website as the original price. So go ahead and get your copy today. This is a limited edition. And with that being said and done, let's get into Victoria and David Beckham. So, you know, a lot of people have been asking me to do this reading for quite some time, and I hadn't, you know, really focused on them. But shout out to all of my UK rays of light, all of my peeps in London. I love you all, and thank you for being here. So when I get into David and Victoria Beckham, I want to say that immediately the energy that I get between them is that they are soulmate material. However, the marriage is not, and I'm just going to go straight in. Y'all know me. I don't hold anything back. I don't feel like they are necessarily in a good place right now. I do feel like they do love each other, but the marriage is far from perfect. I do get that there would be some issues within the marriage itself. This could be centered more around David. Not necessarily that he would cheat on her, but it does come up in the reading when I'm focusing and tuning in that, you know, he's a very free spirit. He doesn't like to be controlled. He doesn't like to necessarily be bound, and so there is a lot of temptation in the industry that he is in, and I do feel like there has been some infidelity in the marriage, but there is hush, you know, this is all being kept very quiet. They, you know, are definitely you know, have good publicists and people that can, you know, kind of keep this under control, and they are very private. So if it was carried out and there was any infidelity, it would be something that is very methodically, you know, figured out. However, they are soulmates, like I said, and so the marriage, I don't feel like it's necessarily going to end right now. However, when I do tune into it, there is a test. There is this strong energy that could test both of them, and it could end up resulting in the marriage ending, and it would be, you know, over just a lot of years, because they've been together for quite some time. But over that time, I do feel and I do see that there has been issues within the marriage. Like I said, disagreements, other women coming into David's circle trying to flirt with him, and you know, Victoria is very secure. You know, I feel like she's not necessarily an insecure individual. However, that being said, you know, she is sort of codependent on him and still controlling. Well, I don't want to say controlling. I take that back. But she is very vocal about, you know, her opinions and things that she doesn't like, that maybe he has a tendency to gravitate towards, because ultimately he is a man. And I'm not defending men, but, you know, I'm just saying the obvious, that most men out there are like that. You know, they have that wavering, that lingering eye, or that eye that stares at other beautiful women. And so I feel like this is where it's coming through. You know, when we look at power couples like, you know, Brad Pitt or Gwyneth Paltrow, and, you know, just other people, you know, Nicole Kidman, etc. A lot of these celebrities, you know, have their relationship was deemed like the perfect epitome of a marriage, like Bennifer, you know, Bennifer when it was Jennifer Aniston and Ben Affleck. But, you know, the fact is that I feel like, you know, being that they are in the spotlight and they are subject to scrutiny and to pressures, and there is temptations, being that David is a very handsome man, very good looking, and so when he would be around, you know, other women, you know, even men, you know, there would be people that would be trying to be shady, and that's just what I get. And so again, I feel like there has been some minor discussions, there has been some kind of arguments, and David is a pacifist at heart. I feel like he doesn't like drama, and not that Victoria would like drama, but she is very outspoken and very serious and very posh like, just living up to her name from the girl group. And for those of you that are tuning in and don't know who David Beckham is, he is a footballer, he is a model, he's an entrepreneur. Victoria Beckham, she is a fashion designer. She was a part of the girl group band Spice Girls back in the 1990s and into the early 2000s. And like I said, she's an author, and she's done a lot of different projects and different careers. However, when it does come to the marriage, her main focal point right now, I feel like, is around the kids and her career, and that's where she drives. That's what drives her, and that's where all the passion really is in this marriage. And she does keep him balanced, and he does keep her balanced, and they do have good times, but I feel like there is a test coming up. And again, I feel like this would be a female, and it may leak out into the tabloids, and they may have a field day with it where David Beckham is caught with someone, and not necessarily there's anything going on, but then there could be. Again, I'm just putting that out there. But within 2 years, 2-year time frame, there may be a shocking revelation within the couple that they decide to distance themselves. This may not be a permanent like divorce or separation, because where they're from in England, there's like an entirely different type of mentality in the UK, and being that they're a power couple and they still have kids, they're at that point in their marriage, I feel like, where they wouldn't necessarily divorce permanently, but there could be a separation where she's living in one area and he's living in another, and they commune back and forth. Regardless, if they were to separate in the future, they would still be amicable, they would still be friendly to each other, and they would always be in each other's lives due to the fact that they have children. And again, soul bonds cannot be broken like these two have. So it's just going to be very interesting how this plays out. I also get that there will be some kind of news that is shocking as well with David Beckham, and this is around his health. And I'm not diagnosing, but I do pick up that he could be sustaining an injury that will have him out of, doing his kind of work within the next 2 to 3 years as well. And it could be anything. I see like the lower extremity, and I keep hearing bones. So there could be some kind of surgery or some kind of time off that he's needing to tend to his physical health. Not anything serious, but just more like mobility wise and flexibility. With Victoria, I get also some health issues with her. A lot of people have speculated whether or not she has been anorexic at any point in her life. I don't pick up on that. I feel like the females and the family that she comes from on the female side are very petite, very just petite and very small in size, and I do feel like she takes good care of herself. She's very centered, and if there's a very witchy side that's coming in with Victoria Beckham. And when I say witchy, I don't mean that in a negative connotation at all. I mean this in a very positive way, because there's good witches and there's dark witches, and I feel like she's more into spirituality. I feel like she's very awakened, even though she may believe in God. I feel like or a higher power. I feel like she's very awakened spiritually, and she has spiritual gifts that she's coming into herself. She would never classify herself, I feel like, as a psychic or a medium, but she does have some abilities, and they tend to gravitate more towards the intuitive and also the mediumship abilities for Victoria. I feel like she has had some experiences that are deemed paranormal, and she does have some kind of spiritual gift that deals with telepathy and reading minds, like remote viewing. So I feel like she does see snippets and things, maybe through dreams, etc. But it's very interesting how this comes through. And I do feel like there is a lot of spiritual protection around her as well. And so she is someone that, like I said, that is very much awakened and aware of her surroundings and people. She's very cautious when it comes to trusting people. I don't feel like she opens herself too much to be vulnerable. And so this is kind of like the shadow aspect that is projected from her. It's almost like she has a shield up, and it kind of blocks people from seeing into her family, into her, into their lives, and kind of throwing negative energy towards her. So she is the one that is kind of like the protector of David. But to some point, I feel like it does become kind of overwhelming, those two being around each other, because they're like night and day. She would be night, he would be day. And and I don't mean that again in a negative way. I'm not saying she's evil or dark, but she kind of, I feel, is more nocturnal in some ways. And in some ways I feel like, our souls, we have a duality, and with her I see a lot of more of the masculine duality. I don't feel like she would do the same things that David would be doing, like being very charitable and a humanitarian and giving back. Yes, she may do those things, but it's more, well thought out and controlled by the people around her. I don't feel like on a whim, like if there was, let me give you an example, like if someone was, an old person was on the side of the road asking for money, I feel like if they were going both in the car, she would not necessarily stop. She would be putting that conscientious roadblock there on herself, that perhaps this is not, they shouldn't stop, that there could be some danger. And with David, I feel like he would definitely stop the vehicle, he would get out of the car, and he would give someone the shirt off of his back. That's just the type of person he is. He's a beautiful soul. He's and she is beautiful as well, but I feel like she's more cautious, and there's reasons why she is very meticulous and cautious when it comes into her personal life and the people that are in their inner circle and who they trust, because there has been things that have been leaked out, friends that have, they have confided in, and then things get leaked out into the media, etc. So when it comes to Victoria, I full-heartedly understand and see why she is the way that she is. But she's going through a lot of growth. There's going to be some tests with her and friendships, and a need of finding herself, rediscovering herself. And that's when I get into music. Music was always the root of who Victoria was, and her fashion, and, just being posh spice and being on stage. And so with the girls, that are the ex-band members of Spice Girls, I don't feel like she has any bad blood with them. She may not necessarily talk to them all the time, but she does keep in contact with them, is what I get from Spirit. And I feel and I see her going back into the studio, or needing to do that. I feel like there's this energetic block on her where she doesn't want to necessarily go back into the studio. It's like she's been there, she's done that, and she feels that maybe at her age, because she's 45 years old, I believe, and that's pretty relatively young still, she may feel like that's not any more of an interest to her, that she's too old for it. That's what I keep hearing from my spirit guides. But what she needs to know is that Spirit is saying that there is some healing and some cathartic energy that she could definitely get from this whole experience if she would kind of surrender and kind of go back and test the studios and music, and record some music, whether it's collaborating with someone or just doing something for herself, making it like a demo album for herself. But she definitely needs to get back into the studio and kind of explore her roots with music again, because it will be interesting. I think a lot of people have wanted the Spice Girls to come back together, but I don't see that happening. Yes, they may come back together for once for like a charity event, or for any kind of event, and get paid for it, but I don't feel like they're definitely going to like come out with another 2 albums or 3 albums. I mean, I could be wrong, you never know, anything is possible, the future's unwritten. But where all the girls are at right now, and what the energy that I get from all of them, is that they are all pursuing their separate interests. They all, most of them have children, and they are just in different wavelengths right now, but for Victoria, it's very important for her to reconnect to those roots. And as far as money wise is concerned, there's a lot of good positive energy, and I feel like their empire is going to continue to grow, and so there's not really anything there that will be very shocking, that or anything that they would need to worry about, because I feel like there is definitely a lot of good coming out from these 2 individuals. But the main thing that we will be scrutinized, and the main thing that will come out into the media, will eventually be their marriage and where they're at. And I think everybody's rooting for them to stay together, but ultimately, we can't have more than one soulmate, and sometimes soulmates are not necessarily romantic in nature. So, it will be very interesting, because I feel like both of them will eventually be with different people down the road, and this would have to be a decision that they would both have to make. So again, we shall see, but I want to thank you all for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you would like to go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Go ahead and click the red subscribe button as well as the notification bell icon. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Psychic Medium Bray. And don't forget to pick up a copy of my Starseed Footsteps Oracle cards and the book to go with it if you haven't already. Blessings and love and light. Have an amazing, amazing day or night wherever you are in the world.